Commander James stood at the observation deck of Earth's last watch station, his weathered hands resting on the smooth metal railing. Through the crystal-clear windows, he could see the planet below, though it barely resembled the Earth from the history books he had studied as a child. The oceans glowed with a soft blue light, modified over thousands of years to serve as the planet's cooling system. The continents shimmered under their protective shields, preserving the carefully maintained ecosystems within. What had once been natural was now a perfect blend of nature and technology, maintained by millions of tiny machines that had worked tirelessly for centuries. Status report. James called out to the empty room. The station's AI responded immediately, its voice calm and clear. All systems normal, Commander. Earth's museum zones are stable. The prehistoric zone in former North America shows healthy dinosaur activity. The medieval Europe zone maintains correct atmospheric conditions for its castles and forests. The ancient Egypt zone's pyramid shields are functioning at optimal levels. James nodded, a small smile crossing his face. Earth had become humanity's greatest museum, a living record of their history. While the rest of humanity had spread across the stars, building vast civilizations and forging alliances with other species, a select few remained behind to guard their birthplace. The commander walked to his favorite viewing spot, where he could see the Arabian Peninsula. The desert there still existed, but now it housed the largest data storage facility ever built, the Deep Archive. Within its crystalline structures lay the complete history of human achievement, protected by technologies that had taken hundreds of thousands of years to perfect. A soft beep interrupted his thoughts. Commander, the AI's voice had changed, showing a hint of concern. We have detected an anomaly. James straightened, his military training kicking in instantly. Show me. A holographic display materialized in front of him, showing the outer edges of the solar system. The warning beacons there, silent for over 10,000 years, were going dark one by one. Analysis, James asked, his heart beginning to race. The pattern matches no known human or allied species ship signatures, the AI reported. However, comparing it to historical records, the AI paused, something it rarely did. Commander, the energy signature matches the Shard invasion fleet from 500,000 years ago. James felt his blood run cold. The Shards, crystalline beings that had once tried to harvest Earth's core for energy. They had nearly succeeded, and the war against them had pushed humanity to develop technology centuries ahead of their time. But they had won, and the Shards had vanished into the dark spaces between galaxies. How many ships? He asked, dreading the answer. Initial readings suggest an armada, Commander. At least 10,000 times larger than the original invasion force. James walked quickly to the command center, his mind racing. Earth's automated defenses were powerful, but they had been designed to handle random threats and small invasion forces, not an armada of this size. The nearest human fleet was weeks away at best. Send the emergency signal to all human colonies, he ordered. Priority level, Alpha 1. Activate all planetary defense systems and wake the rest of the watch team. As red alert signals began flashing throughout the station, James looked once more at his beloved Earth. In all his years of service, he had sometimes wondered why they still kept guards here. Earth was a museum now, a repository of history. Humanity had grown far beyond their cradle. But looking at the approaching threat, he understood. Earth wasn't just a museum. It was everything humanity had been and everything they had become. In its seas, deserts, and archives lay the accumulated knowledge and achievement of nearly 1,000,000 years of human history. And now, Commander James and his small team were all that stood between that history and its destruction. Well, he muttered to himself as he began accessing the Deep Archive's weapons vault. Let's show these Shards what humanity has learned in the last 500,000 years. The warning sirens echoed through Earth's last watch station as Commander James's team assembled in the command center. Tom, the weapons specialist, arrived first, followed by Mary, their systems expert, and Robert, who knew Earth's modified systems better than anyone else. All three wore the simple gray uniforms of Earth's guardians, their faces showing a mix of worry and determination. "Show us what we're facing," James ordered, and the room's holographic display came to life. The image made them all pause. Thousands of crystal ships filled the space where Pluto once orbited, their surfaces reflecting the distant sunlight. Each ship looked like a massive diamond shard, sharp edges gleaming with stored energy. The fleet stretched for millions of kilometers, far larger than anything they had trained for. "They've changed," Robert said, studying the readings. "Their ships are bigger, more complex. The crystal structures are different from the historical records." Mary nodded, her fingers moving quickly over her control panel. "The shards have evolved, just like we have. But there's something strange about their energy readings." The AI's voice joined the conversation. "Analysis complete. The shard fleet appears to have spent the last 500,000 years in suspended animation, hiding in the void between galaxies. Their technology has advanced, but only along predicted paths." James walked around the hologram, thinking hard. "What do you mean, predicted paths?" "The shards are crystalline beings," Mary explained. "They think in straight lines, in patterns. Our records show that even 500,000 years ago, we could predict how their technology would advance. They're powerful, but they're predictable." Tom finished, a small smile appearing on his face. "And if there's one thing humans have never been, it's predictable." A massive blast of energy suddenly lit up the hologram. The shards had begun their attack, firing at Earth's outer defense ring. The ancient shield technology flared to life, absorbing the first wave of attacks. "Shields holding at 92%, the AI reported. "But they're adapting their weapon frequencies. Estimated time until shield failure, 6 hours. James straightened up. "That's longer than they probably expected. Show me Earth's current defense capabilities." The hologram changed, displaying layer after layer of defensive systems surrounding Earth. Automated weapon platforms from 100 different eras of human history orbited the planet. The modified oceans glowed with defensive nanites. The atmosphere itself was threaded with quantum detection grids. "We've got weapons from every age of human warfare," Tom said, bringing up detailed scans. "Everything from digital versions of ancient Greek fire to temporal displacement bombs. The shards won't know what they're facing." Another blast rocked the station. Through the windows, they could see the shard fleet advancing, their crystal ships moving in perfect geometric patterns. "Look at how they move," Robert said quietly. "All that power, but no creativity. No chaos, just pure mathematics." James watched the enemy advance, a plan forming in his mind. "Mary, access the deep archive. I want everything we have on unconventional warfare." "Tom, start mixing weapon types. Combine things that should never go together." "Robert, prepare Earth's environmental systems for combat configuration." "Combat configuration?" Robert asked, surprised. "We've never actually used that outside of simulations." "The shards want our planet," James replied, his voice firm. "Then let's show them what 1,000,000 years of human innovation can do. Let's show them why Earth isn't just a museum. It's the most dangerous weapon humanity ever created." As his team rushed to their tasks, James watched the crystal ships approach. They were beautiful in their perfection, each movement calculated and precise. But that was their weakness. In all their time hiding and evolving, they had forgotten the most important lesson about fighting humans. Expect the unexpected. "Begin evacuation of all museum zones," he ordered. "Transfer all archived specimens to the deep bunkers. And wake up the combat AIs from every era. We're going to need every trick humanity has ever invented." The shards were coming, moving forward in their perfect formations. But they were about to learn that fighting humanity meant facing not just one enemy, but every version of humanity that had ever existed. And Earth itself was ready to fight. Deep beneath the glowing sands of what was once the Arabian desert, Commander James and his team rode a quantum elevator into humanity's greatest vault. The deep archive stretched for hundreds of kilometers underground, its crystalline walls storing millions of years of human knowledge and innovation. Level 42 reached. Ancient Warfare Section. The elevator's AI announced. The doors opened to reveal endless rows of stored weapons, each preserved in stasis fields. "I haven't been down here in years," Tom said, walking past shelves of strange devices. "Look at this. Actual gunpowder weapons from the 21st century, perfectly preserved." Mary stopped at a control panel, her fingers dancing across its surface. The archive's index is responding. It's already suggesting weapon combinations based on the shard's attack patterns. Above them, they could feel the vibrations of another assault on Earth's shields. Robert checked his portable screen. "Shields at 74% now. The shards are learning faster than expected." James walked to the center of the vast room. "AI, show me the weapon categories that the shards have never encountered in any form." The air filled with floating holograms, each showing different types of weapons. Some were incredibly simple, spears and bows from humanity's ancient past. Others were so advanced they seemed to bend reality itself. "Look at this," Mary called out. She stood before a display showing old naval warfare tactics. The shards think in 3 dimensions, like a crystal grows. But human naval commanders learn to think in layers, using depth and pressure as weapons. Tom joined her, his eyes lighting up. "And we've got the modified oceans now. We could adapt these old submarine tactics to work with our quantum ships." "That's exactly what we need," James said, moving through the holograms. "The shards expect us to use our most advanced weapons. Instead, we'll use everything." "Tom, start selecting naval warfare systems. Mary, find ways to combine them with our modern technology." "Robert." He turned to find Robert staring at an ancient spear in a stasis field. "Commander," Robert said quietly, "I have an idea. The shards are made of crystal, right? They understand crystal structures. But what if we showed them something totally organic, totally chaos-based?" James walked over. The spear was simple, wood and stone, and animal sinew. Next to it sat rows of biological weapons from humanity's darkest wars, and beyond those were vials of modern nanites that could rebuild matter itself. "You want to combine them all," James said, understanding. "Ancient organic weapons, biological agents, and modern nanites." Robert nodded. "The shards understand patterns. Everything they build follows crystal growth laws. But this would be like introducing a virus into a perfect system." Another blast rocked the archive. The AI's voice echoed through the vast space. "Shields at 65%. Shard fleet is now deploying secondary attack formations." "Do it," James ordered. "Tom, begin adapting the old naval warfare systems. Mary, I want those weapon combinations ready to test in 1 hour. Robert, start working on your chaos weapon. I'm going to the tactical history section." "Tactical history?" Mary asked, already pulling up weapon schematics. "What are you looking for?" James smiled as he walked toward another elevator. "The shards fight in perfect formations, using perfect geometry. I want to show them how humanity fought before we had computers to calculate everything. I want to show them what unpredictable really means." The team split up, each heading to their tasks. Around them, the deep archive hummed with power as ancient weapons began powering up for the first time in thousands of years. The greatest library of military knowledge ever created was coming alive. Through it all, James couldn't help but appreciate the irony. Humanity had preserved these weapons as a reminder of their history, never expecting to use them again. But now, their greatest museum was becoming their greatest arsenal. Above them, the Shard fleet continued its perfect, calculated assault, unaware that they were about to face not just one era of human warfare, but all of them at once. Earth's defenders were about to prove that sometimes the old ways were the deadliest. The first attack caught the Shards completely by surprise. From Earth's modified oceans rose thousands of tiny submarines, each one powered by both fusion engines and old-fashioned propellers. They moved in random patterns that made no mathematical sense, breaking every rule of modern space combat. "They're confused," Mary reported from her station. Through the command center's windows, they could see the crystal ships trying to adjust their formations. "Their targeting systems are designed for logical attack patterns. Our submarines are too chaotic for them to predict." Tom's voice came through the communication system. "Launching Phase 2 now." The submarine suddenly released clouds of what looked like ordinary seawater into space. But this water had been modified by Robert's team, combining ancient bacteria with modern nanites. As it struck the crystal ships, it began to eat through their perfect surfaces, creating random, organic patterns. "Direct hit," Robert called out. "The hybrid weapon is working. Their ships can't maintain their crystal structure when exposed to chaotic biological patterns." Commander James watched from the command center, remembering the old books he'd studied in the archive. The submarine tactics came from Earth's Second World War, nearly 1,000,000 years ago, but combined with modern technology, they were more effective than ever. "The shards are pulling back," Mary announced. "They're trying to regroup." "Wait." She paused, checking her readings. "Commander, they're bringing in their heavy ships. Energy readings are off the charts." The retreat had been a trick. Now massive crystal ships, each one the size of a small moon, moved to the front of the shard fleet. They began to glow with stored energy. "All defense systems brace for impact," James ordered. "Activate the quantum lock shields." The blast from the shard ships was powerful enough to light up the entire solar system. It struck Earth's shields like a hammer hitting glass. But instead of breaking, the shields did something impossible. They bent. "Shield status," James called out. "Quantum lock shields holding at 89%. The AI reported. "The technology is too old for them to understand, Commander. They expected modern energy shields, not the experimental quantum shields from 300,000 years ago." Robert's voice came through next. "Commander, the modified oceans are ready for your orders. All bacterial nanite weapons are prepared." James looked at the tactical display. The shards were regrouping again, their ships forming perfect geometric patterns. They were beautiful but predictable. Every move they made followed the exact rules of crystal growth. "Launch Operation Chaos," James ordered. Across Earth's surface, the modified oceans began to move. Massive waves rose into space, carrying millions of tiny weapons. Ancient bacteria mixed with modern nanites, creating patterns that no computer could predict. At the same time, the submarine fleet moved in from behind, using old hunting tactics that hadn't been seen in combat for hundreds of thousands of years. "The shards are trying to adapt," Mary reported. "But they can't predict where our attacks are coming from. Their crystal ships need order and patterns to function properly. Our weapons are too random." Through the command center's windows, they could see the battle unfolding. Crystal ships tried to maintain their perfect formations while chaos erupted around them. Some of the smaller ships began to crack, their surfaces corrupted by the hybrid weapons. "Keep pushing," James ordered. "Don't let them reorganize." Tom launched the temporal mines. Robert increased the bacterial spread. Mary maintained shield randomization. As his team worked, James thought about how far humanity had come. They had spread across the galaxy, built amazing technologies, and become one of the most advanced species in known space. But in the end, they were winning this battle by combining their oldest and simplest weapons with their newest innovations. The shards had spent 500,000 years evolving in a straight line, becoming more perfect, more crystalline, more predictable. But humanity had kept every step of their messy, chaotic evolution. And now, that chaos was proving to be their greatest strength. The battle had been raging for 6 hours, and Earth's defenders were starting to feel the strain. In the command center, Commander James watched as another wave of crystal ships broke through their outer defenses. "Status report," he called out, his voice tired but firm. Mary looked up from her station, her face lit by the glow of emergency lights. "Our hybrid weapons are still effective, but the shards are learning. They'd started using smaller ships as shields to protect their larger vessels from the bacterial nanite mixture. "Commander," Tom's voice came through the communication system. "You need to see this." Bringing it up on the main display now. The holographic display showed something unexpected. The shard ships were changing shape, their crystal structures rearranging into new patterns. They were adapting, becoming more complex, more dangerous. "They're evolving their ships during battle," Robert said, studying the readings. "Each new formation is stronger than the last. Our chaos tactics won't work forever." James walked to the center of the command room, thinking hard. They had used weapons from every era of human history, combining them in ways that had never been tried before. But it wasn't enough. They needed something bigger. "Tom," he said suddenly, "remember what we saw in the ancient warfare section? The old battle formations." "Yes, sir. The Roman legion tactics. Load them into the drone control system. All of them. Mary, take our quantum phase ships and arrange them like old naval battle lines. Robert, I want medieval siege engine calculations applied to our antimatter cannons." His team looked at him with confusion, but they began working immediately. Above Earth, thousands of tiny combat drones began moving into tight rectangular formations, just like Roman legions from almost 1,000,000 years ago. "Drones in position," Tom reported. "But Commander, these formations are ancient. They're not meant for space combat." "The shards study our modern tactics," James explained. "They expect us to fight like we do now. Instead, we're going to show them how humanity has fought through all of history, at once." The next attack was unlike anything the shards had ever faced. Drones moved in legion formations, creating shield walls in space that deflected crystal energy beams. Behind them, quantum ships arranged themselves in lines like ancient wooden battleships, firing antimatter cannons that had been modified to work like medieval catapults. "It's working," Mary shouted. "Their targeting systems can't handle the old formation patterns. The drones are getting through." On the main display, they could see the results. The Roman-style drone formations broke through the shard defenses, their strange movements confusing the crystal ship's perfect geometric patterns. When the shards tried to regroup, they faced ships fighting like old sea captains, using wind and tide tactics in the depths of space. But the shards were still dangerous. A massive blast from one of their capital ships destroyed an entire section of drones, and more crystal ships were appearing from hyperspace. "They're calling in reinforcements," Robert warned. "Energy readings are higher than anything we've seen yet. They're preparing for something big." James watched as the crystal ships began to align themselves into a new pattern. This one was different, more complex, more dangerous than anything they'd shown before. The crystals were glowing with stored energy, preparing for a massive attack. "All ships, fall back to secondary positions," he ordered. "Mary, start calculating escape routes for our forces. Robert, begin emergency protocols for the Earth Museum zones." "We're not retreating, are we?" Tom asked, his voice tense. James shook his head, his eyes fixed on the growing threat above. "No, but what we're about to do next, well, it hasn't been done in over 500,000 years. Not since the last time we fought the shards." He turned to his team, his face serious. "It's time to wake up Earth itself. The planet remembers the last war, and it's time to use that memory as a weapon." Deep in the Earth's core, beneath layers of modified rock and quantum technology, something ancient stirred. Commander James and his team stood in a secret control room that hadn't been opened in 500,000 years. "Are you sure about this?" Mary asked, looking at the massive crystal structure in front of them. "Waking up the planetary consciousness is dangerous. Earth might not want to go back to sleep." "We don't have a choice," James replied. Above them, the Shard fleet was gathering for their biggest attack yet. Earth remembers the last war. It knows these enemies. Robert worked at the ancient control panel, his fingers moving carefully. Planetary backup systems are responding. All memory cores are intact. 1,000,000 years of Earth's memories are still here. "Do it," James ordered. Tom pressed his hand against a crystal scanner, followed by Mary, then Robert, and finally James. The crystal structure began to glow with a deep blue light, the same light they had seen in Earth's modified oceans. Warning, the AI announced. Planetary consciousness beginning to wake. All systems preparing for transition. The ground began to shake, not just in the control room, but across the entire planet. In the museum zones, ancient creatures were automatically moved to safety bunkers. In the modified oceans, billions of nanites began to move with new purpose. Earth is awake, Robert whispered. Through the station's windows, they could see the change happening. The oceans were moving on their own now, great waves rising up into space without any commands. The atmosphere shifted, creating massive storms that stretched into the battle zone. Incredible, Mary said, checking her readings. Earth is using the weather as a weapon. It's combining the planet's natural forces with our technology. In space, the Shard fleet faced something they had never expected. The planet itself was fighting back. Massive tentacles of water, enhanced by centuries of modification and filled with ancient bacteria and modern nanites, reached for their ships. Storms charged with quantum energy crackled around their crystal formations. The planet remembers them, James said, watching the battle unfold. Earth remembers how they tried to destroy it last time. The Shards launched their massive attack, energy beams from thousands of ships firing at once. But Earth was ready. The planet's crust shifted, releasing beams of energy from deep within. The two forces met in space, creating explosions that lit up the solar system. Commander, Tom called out, Earth is doing something else. Look at the crystal formations in the deep archive. The archive's crystals, which had stored human knowledge for centuries, were changing. They were growing, evolving, but not in the perfect patterns of the Shards. These crystals grew in chaotic, organic ways. Of course, Robert said, understanding. Earth learned from us. From all of human history, it's speaking to the Shards in their own language. Crystal growth, but with human chaos. The effect on the Shard fleet was immediate. Their perfect formations began to break apart. The crystal ships tried to maintain their geometric patterns, but Earth's chaotic crystal signals interfered with their control systems. This is why they really came back, James realized. Not just for energy. They feared this. Earth is the only planet that successfully combined crystal technology with organic life, with human unpredictability. Through the windows, they watched as Earth unleashed its full power. The planet they had guarded for so long was now protecting them, using every weapon nature and humanity had ever created. Oceans became armies, storms became shields, and the very ground beneath their feet sent messages that drove the crystal ships into confusion. Look, Mary said softly. They're retreating. The Shard fleet was breaking apart, their perfect formations shattered by Earth's assault. The crystal ships were turning away, fleeing from the chaos they couldn't understand or fight. But James knew this wasn't the end. Earth was fully awake now, and 1,000,000 years of memories were flowing through its consciousness. The planet itself had joined the battle, and nothing would ever be the same. The battle was over, but Earth was still awake. Commander James stood at his favorite observation window, watching the planet pulse with blue energy. The Shard fleet had disappeared into deep space, leaving behind only scattered crystal fragments that floated like stars around Earth's orbit. Report from the Human Defense Fleet, Commander, Mary called from her station. They'll be here in 6 hours. A bit late for the party. She smiled, showing how proud she was of what their small team had accomplished. Any sign the Shards will return? James asked. Tom checked his readings. No, sir. Their retreat wasn't organized. From what we can tell, Earth's crystal communication scared them badly. They've never seen crystals grow in chaotic patterns before. Robert entered the command center, looking tired but happy. The museum zones are all safe. We're starting to move the prehistoric creatures back to their habitats. But, Commander, we have a situation with Earth itself. James nodded. He had expected this. Walking to the central control panel, he opened a communication channel directly to Earth's consciousness, the screen filled with patterns of light that somehow formed words and images. "Earth wants to talk to us," Mary said, reading the patterns. "It's thanking us. 1,000,000 years of memories are awake now. It remembers everything, from the first humans who walked its surface to the last war with the shards." The planet's messages continued to flow across their screens. It showed them images from human history, ancient battles, great innovations, countless generations living and growing and changing. Earth had watched humanity evolve from simple tribes to masters of technology. "It's beautiful," Tom said, watching the display. Earth wasn't just storing our history. It was learning from it, understanding how humans think and fight and create. Robert studied the patterns carefully. "The planet is asking if it can stay awake. It wants to keep protecting us." James thought about this. Earth was now the most powerful weapon humanity had ever created, but it was also their home, their museum, their connection to everything they had ever been. It wasn't just a weapon. It was part of who they were. "We need to help Earth go back to sleep," he said finally. "Not because we don't trust it, but because it deserves to rest. It's been our guardian for so long." The team worked together one last time, carefully sending signals to the planetary consciousness. They thanked Earth for its protection, promised to keep guarding it, and asked it to share its memories of the battle before returning to sleep. The planet's response was gentle. The oceans calmed, the storms settled, and the crystal formations in the deep archive returned to their normal patterns. But before Earth's consciousness faded, it shared one last gift with its defenders. "Commander," Mary gasped, looking at her screen. "Earth is showing us everything it learned from the battle. New ways to combine ancient and modern technology. Better defenses, things we never would have thought of." James smiled. "Earth learned from us, and now we're learning from it. That's what humanity has always done. Shared knowledge, adapted, grown stronger together." They watched as Earth slowly returned to its sleeping state. The blue glow faded from the oceans, returning to its normal soft light. The museum zones came back online, preserving their precious history. But now they knew that history wasn't just being stored. It was alive, ready to protect them if they ever needed it again. "Send a message to the incoming fleet," James ordered. "Tell them Earth is secure, but we could use some help cleaning up these crystal fragments. And," he paused, looking at his tired but proud team, "tell them that humanity's oldest home just proved it's still our strongest defender." As the sun rose over Earth's crystal-scattered orbit, James thought about how far they had come. Humanity had spread across the galaxy, but Earth remained their heart, their memory, their guardian. The shards had thought they were attacking a museum world, but they had discovered something else. A planet that had learned chaos from humanity and turned it into the greatest defense of all.